streets of Kismaayo were returning to normal. Only sporadic gunfire could be heard. Despite the presence of U.S. and Belgian troops, heavy fighting led to one Somali warlord being forced out and a bitter rival gaining the upper hand.
Obviously, we have the ability and the firepower that we could have put it down in minutes, but it would have cost hundreds to thousands of lives.
This man was stabbed in the head. More than a dozen were believed killed. Many were wounded. Troops associated with General Mohammed Farah Saeed Percy, known as Morgan, slipped into town unarmed, found their previously hidden weapons, then started shooting. They forced Colonel Omar Jess and 3,000 to 4,000 members of his clan to leave town. This was the headquarters of Jess's Somali patriotic movement. Children now man the gate. Inside, a rifle lies on the ground, and nearby a stockpile of ammunition. The Joint Task Force says only about 150 of Morgan's forces took part in the assault. This man says he came into town with a group of some 700 people to regain their homes. He says the operation was well planned and well armed.
Shooting started sporadically, and after some time the Belgian troops came into town, and the shooting actually went on from 3 o'clock up to 8 o'clock in the morning, heavy shooting.
Some of those forced out of their homes took refuge inside the UNICEF compound. She told us if she leaves the compound, she will be killed. The timing of the fighting caused the postponement of the ceremony in which the U.S. troops were to hand over control of the area to these Belgian forces and then begin going home. That will delay the departure of more than 1,000 U.S. Army soldiers based in Kismaayo. The incident illustrates the fragility of the peace the Joint Task Force has been able to establish.
Something like it could happen here in Mogadishu tonight. There are certainly weapons cached throughout the city. The possibility for an outbreak of violence exists just about anywhere.
Late last month, U.S. helicopter gunships destroyed several so-called technical battle wagons belonging to General Morgan. It was intended as a message he apparently didn't receive. Now these troops are prepared to strike again unless he moves his soldiers out and turns over his weapons. Rick Salinger, CNN, Kismaayo.
At least a half dozen Somalis were killed in violence in the capital, Mogadishu. 2 U.S. Marines were wounded. CNN's Rick Salinger has details of what happened and why.
The United States and its armed forces that command the coalition were the target of the Somalis' anger. Within 24 hours, the population of South Mogadishu, instead of shaking hands with soldiers, was pelting them with rocks. The crowds took to the streets in an area of the city fiercely loyal to General Mohammed Farah Aydiid. The riots broke out after Aydiid went on the radio, claiming the U.S.-led task force was supporting a rival group.
The boys, they sent them here to help in Somalia. They are using another way which is changing what they are agreeing before.
Troops fired into the air to disperse the crowds, but many Somalis claimed the shots were directed at them. The Egyptian embassy was sacked. Its flag rubbed in the dirt of a smoke-filled street, a clear message directed to Boutros Boutros-Ghali, the Secretary General of the United Nations. Many of the injured were taken to hospitals, but there are more wheelbarrows in Somalia than ambulances. Still, it was too late for this young man, and for this one too. In one incident, the U.S. military says a Somali was killed when Marines returned fire. The demonstrations amounted to a loud and dangerous message from General Aydiid that he was still a power to be reckoned with. But the task force had a message of its own to deliver. It was sent by air as U.S. helicopters dropped leaflets in the capital. They stressed the coalition is ready to quell any uprising in Mogadishu or Kismaayo, where forces loyal to the warlord known as General Morgan invaded the city earlier this week. Late Wednesday, Morgan agreed to move all his forces out of Kismaayo, a move the coalition hopes will not be lost on the fervent followers of General Aydiid. But even the U.S. command admits what happened in Mogadishu is unsettling.
Really what we have here is a momentary setback. It's also something that we think is mainly keyed on disinformation. General Aydiid has misinterpreted events in Kismaayo.
While the events have postponed the pullout of U.S. troops there, military spokesmen insist it will not delay the handover of command to the United Nations in the coming weeks. But the violent demonstrations and deaths have served as a vivid reminder of just how fragile and elusive the imposed peace in Somalia can be. Gun battles raged for hours. Most of the fighting took place between Somalis and United Nations troops from Nigeria. No one is quite sure how it began. It sent people on the streets scampering for cover. The Somalis captured a Nigerian armored personnel carrier. He was left stranded in the crossfire. The running battles moved block to block as bullets ricocheted off walls. The Somali children laughed. The sound of gunfire is nothing new here. U.S. helicopters, including Cobra gunships, patrolled from above. Marines and State Department security personnel took cover atop the office of the U.S. Special Envoy to Somalia.
The fighting forced relief workers to take cover in their compounds. Feeding stations throughout Mogadishu were shut down. It halted many of the humanitarian aid activities in Operation Restore Hope was set up to protect.
5 hours after the gunfire began, U.S. Marines moved in to assist the Nigerians. They were met by jeers and rocks. One child ended up beneath the boot of a Marine and was told to go home. Another Marine was struck by a stone. I'm wired. Jesus Christ. But flying rocks were not the only weapons the troops faced. In several instances, fire was returned. The U.S.-led task force now acknowledges some Somalis were probably killed. A hand grenade was lobbed at the Marines, but landed on a building roof. One Marine told us, "We're not restoring hope. They hate us. They want to stone us or kill us."